Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Founders Forum. I have a little intro for you guys first before we get started. So I know it's been like 2 months since I uploaded, but just taking a little break. But as you can see, we have a lot of new upgrades, a new microphone, green screen, and a whole new production set. So it's nice, and yeah, so that's that. So our topic today is basically the truth on Trump, or how my opinion has changed since the beginning, since almost a year ago actually, from January. Um, so yeah, I guess we'll get started. So my whole thing with Trump is that I feel like he made a lot of promises in the 2024 election. Um, some of the things he's promised, he's actually delivered on. But for the most part, it's just a bunch of lies and scandals, and it's disappointing, to be honest. I guess the first thing is it just seems like we're always waiting for something. There's always something to be promised, but we're not quite sure if it's actually gonna be delivered. For example, like he's in. If you all saw his speech a week ago, he made a lot of promises, but we're not really sure why he's making promises because if if he did all the things he said he was going to do, there should be nothing to promise. Like he said, housing, right? He's going to release some housing deals, and you know, like it just he said housing will increase, right? So whatever that's supposed to mean. Deportations, for the most part, they're doing good. I think they're just saying, oh, 3 million people, right? 3 million people got up and left the U.S. because they're afraid of Trump. That it's kind of a lie. I don't think people are afraid of ICE, but it's not to a point where 3 million people were getting up and leaving. But it seems like he's always promising us something. 10 million illegals by year one, right? It's really only 300,000 or something. So it's a lot of false promises. Um, to be honest, I'm kind of caught in the middle here because I want to stand by Trump, but it's kind of hard to because with all the Epstein files, right, and all the other scandals he's coming to the surface, right, it's just getting harder and harder to defend Trump. And to be honest, everybody's turning on him. Marjorie Marjorie Green, yeah, that's her. She turned on him. She was a Trump loyalist, but she's gone. Um, a lot of people are coming out and saying, it's not what we want. It's not what we voted for. I think a lot of people liked the idea of Trump in in the way that he projected a strong image for America. It was a refreshment. We can we can restore peace through strength, but most of it's just broken promises. Um, so yeah, I guess it just seems like we're always being promised something that something we're just gonna be promised that something good is gonna happen around the corner. Now he's saying stuff for the second year, but for the first year it wasn't really that good. Although I do think that people should wait to judge him because it is only year one. But for the most part, it's not really that looking that good. He's added another $1 trillion to the U.S. debt. Um, he met with a lot of people in the beginning of his term, but that's kind of slowed down now. Another big issue, his health is a major concern with his hands. They already came out in August saying that he has chronic vascular disease, something like that. So we know there's something wrong with him, and even if they didn't say that, it's not hard to tell. Not only is he 79, he's just a lot slower, a lot less energy. He's falling asleep in the Oval Office. Um, it's not really projecting strength like we wanted, but I think we all could like many people could have seen this from the very beginning. The whole reason why he ran for 2024 was to get out of jail. He would have been faced with, fines that would have destroyed his company. He probably would have been in jail if we're being realistic. Um, a lot of the America First people. They say, he's bending to Israel, which he kind of is, going against everybody else but defending Israel is what's happening, Um, the whole thing with Israel is just that they want to play the good guys, the victim card in basically every situation, but the whole world is owned by Israel, and now Trump is too. You know, it's supposed to be America first, not Israel first, and unfortunately, it's a lot of decisions we're making are favoring Israel. So, but yeah, and like it doesn't take a genius that there's clearly something wrong with Trump. Um, they're saying that he only has a couple months left. He's probably won't make it past his first year, which I think he will. But year two might be questionable for him. Uh, but yeah, you can see it. He's the way he walks. He's stumbling. The just very low energy. His hands are covered in makeup to cover up bruising. Um, and yeah, we would have a more definite answer if the White House wasn't just full of lies. In every speech Trump makes, it's just the same thing over again. Just repeating all the achievements. But and again, I would like to stand for Trump here, but slowly and like slower and slower, everybody's just they're just going against him because he's not delivering on his promises and going against what we voted for. The Epstein files. It's just the whole big scandal, right? It's a whole big scandal. Obviously, I'm not saying they're fake. I'm just saying it's the whole thing with Trump. It's just another scandal to add to his list. Um, I'm not really sure why people acted so surprised when, you know, Pam Bondi said that, oh, Trump might pop up in the files a few times. Like, I don't know why that's so surprising. And clearly we find out that wasn't true. He's in every page it mentions him, basically. Um, so I don't know why people act so surprised when we found out that. We knew that already. That wasn't a surprise to us. They're friends for 20 years. Of course he's going to pop up there. Um, but yeah, when, they reached in October, right? They said that the Epstein files will be released, and Trump had 30 days to do it. December 19th was his deadline, and of course, what a surprise, Trump did wait until the last day to release the Epstein files. And so, yeah, December 19th, they're slowly getting released. But then once you look into them, it's pages upon pages, literally like 20 pages, just all black. The whole black rectangle covered the entire page. Trump's name was redacted off of every mention practically. Um, whole entire paragraphs just wiped out. So, I mean, obviously this was going to happen. They had 30 days to release the Epstein files. Of course, they're going to wait till the very end, so they'd wipe out all the names. It's not really a surprise here. We all knew it was going to happen too. Um, but yeah, and now they're coming out that says Trump may have murdered a baby and, well, done something else first and then murdered a baby in Lake Michigan. So that that could just bring him down. But we heard all the stories about Trump and the Epstein files, right? We knew he was in them. We knew he definitely played a part. Because like I said, they were friends for 20 years. Of course he's going to be in them. Uh, but it's just, yeah, of course he's going to take his name out. Why would he leave them in? And, Bill Clinton was in, pages and pages, right? But listen, the thing is, you shouldn't care about being in the Epstein files as long as you didn't do anything wrong in the first place. If Trump just released the Epstein files on day one, if he just released them, he would have made himself look less guilty. Because like obviously, if you're gonna wait till almost a year into your presidency, when listen, when you promised in 2024 that the first thing you were gonna do when you got into office was release the Epstein files, and you didn't do it. You waited almost over a year, right? Then clearly you look guilty. Like if you just did it in the beginning, maybe people would have thought, hey, maybe he's not, guilty. But of course, before that, we all know he was. So I guess the point I'm trying to say is that it's just getting harder and harder to defend Trump here. I want to stand by him, and I want his image for America to come true and him to deliver on his promises, but it's just not looking that way. they're also saying that not just he didn't just get into the White House for to stay out of jail or to not pay fines, but to benefit his family. He's making all these crypto deals, real estate deals in Saudi Arabia. It's mostly obviously Trump can't solely participate in that, but his sons are doing it. They're pardoning um, some Asian guy. They pardoned him who helped Trump, Don Jr. and Eric Trump, right? They got super rich off a crypto deal with that guy, and of course he's pardoned. Um, but yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff to enrich his family and make sure that they have billions and billions. They have basically generational money, to last forever, to make sure the Trump name stays in the game, right? And of course, they're also saying that Trump is going to run in 2028, or they'll find a way to run. But number one, it's just not going to happen because, well, it can happen. This is his second term. He can't run again. But Steve Bannon said that they're figuring something out behind the scenes. There is nothing. They can't elect JD Vance, invoke the 25th, and then get Trump back in. It can't happen. You know. Um, but yeah, and they're saying that he's doing things where he wouldn't be doing them if he didn't want to leave, like renaming everything, the Gulf of America, right? Or he's renaming the Trump Kennedy Center, doing all the things to the White House. That happened that was back in September, but now it actually happened. They tore down the East Wing, which I actually took a visit to back in August. So right before, literally a month before, no, less than that, less than a month before it got torn down, I got to visit it. So that was nice. But yeah, it's all gone now. They're saying that Trump fired an architect that was planned to develop it because Trump wanted the ballroom, right? It was supposed to be. They're going back and forth with the sizes and what could happen and what can't happen. The architect told him, that what you want, we can't do. It can't physically happen. So Trump fired him. So now there's an option on the table that we might have just torn down the East Wing for nothing, because they're having trouble finding another architect. So it might have been all for nothing. And honestly, there really is no point of building this ballroom. Sure, and no, it would be nice, of course, but there's no need for it. There's plenty of other places to hold it that's not directly at the White House. If you need a bigger space, you can find somewhere else in Washington, right? It's just a waste of money too, because they're saying all the tech companies were coming together to fund it, but of course we knew most of it was coming from taxpayer money. So yeah, it went from two, it was 200 billion, right? Then it went to 250, then 300, and just a month ago it went to 350. So that's 150 billion dollars in only a couple of months. And they're saying that Trump got completely ripped off with this too. There's I think it's 90,000 square feet, so I think it was $3,333 per square foot. And anybody in the real estate business knows that's a complete ripoff right there. No government building or fancy facility could possibly cost that much, which basically leads us into the next conspiracy, which is maybe it's just a cover up for something. Maybe that's above ground, but underground, it could be data centers, some, hidden bunker. It could really be anything. But, we'll never know about that unless Trump tells us what you want, because, like I said, this entire administration is built on lies. And of course, I would much rather have this administration than Kamala, right? The things, they're saying that the things that Trump is doing is, extreme and that it's too much, but it's a lot better than what we could have had with Kamala. Like I said, we would have been in World War III by now if it wasn't for Trump, because he's restoring order. And that leads us into the next thing. War, right? He said he stopped all these wars, and, with first it was Cambodia and Thailand, right? That got solved in like a day. That was nothing. No, And of course, no serious threat to us. Like let them figure that out. Again, America first, not other countries. But let them settle their thing. What we need to focus on is Russia and Ukraine, which is still going on. He promised he would have had that done in the first 100 days. Then it was on day one, and then it was 100 days after day one. But here we are, December 26th, right? And they're still going at it. So Israel and Iran, they did sell a peace deal, but of course that'll shatter any day now. Um, all these wars. He said he stopped 8 wars, but a majority of them weren't serious, or he didn't actually stop anything. Um, but with Venezuela, that's a big topic because that's a nation that we could be directly involved in, not just sending aid to, or like we might actually go to war with them. And that's what people thought a week ago when Trump was gonna when he made his speech. They thought that he was gonna declare war on Venezuela, but that didn't happen. I didn't think it was gonna happen, but there's always a chance, I guess. Uh, but yeah, because they're saying Trump put a $50 million bounty on Maduro's head, which is double than Osama bin Laden's. So it's a pretty big deal, I guess. Honestly, because they're saying the whole point of the war, right, was because of the drug boats that they're coming into the country and bringing drugs and killing our people, right? Because people are having overdoses. The cartel they're running lines through it. Um, it's not just strict like smuggling drugs over the border. It's getting them, by ocean too. So yeah, that's what Trump said. The conflict was for in the first place, just stopping the drug boats. But now it could be about the oil or a whole bunch of other things, because we, had naval ships there surrounding them, bombers, doing flybys. But who really knows, to be honest? I don't. Now, if we did get into war with Venezuela, obviously I'm not really worried. No one really should be because it's small. It's not a powerful country. They have really, nothing against us. But it's not, the country themselves we have to worry about. It's Russia or China or North Korea jumping in because, they're all allies with Venezuela. So that's a problem. That's really the thing we would have to worry about. But yeah, and basically and another thing, it's, a year from now or a year and a half or whatever during the midterms, it's not looking good for that either. With all the mayoral elections happening in the cities, right? Miami, a Democrat was voted for the first time in forever in what was it, November, right? Yeah, November. We had Mamdani win, which was absolutely horrible. Um, yeah, a Muslim was elected as New York City's mayor, so that was pretty bad. But yeah, it's just the blue wave is coming. The Republicans, we had our turn in 2024 when we completely wiped the Democrats out, but now it's just not looking good for the midterms. Slowly and slowly, it's turning blue. We might lose the House now because Prop 50, they voted for that, so that's out of the game. That was a big major thing we wanted. Luckily, I think in Tennessee we got a win, but for the most part, it's just not looking good for the midterms, which is sad because now Trump might lose, control of the House, which is just gonna make all the laws and bills, right, or whatever that he just setting into action. It's gonna take a lot longer now because the Democrats will have had the House, which is not good. So they're just gonna wipe us out. We'll be done. And they're saying that in 2020, and not just the midterms, in 2028, any Republican now is who didn't go against Trump will be seen as with Trump. So with the Trump agenda, right? But the ones who actually want to do good, right, and or just aren't with Trump, no one's going to think that because they didn't go against him, right? So JD Vance, he has no shot winning of 2028. It's just not going to happen. There's no one else major like who's going to step in. So I guarantee you it's going to be Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom or someone. I think uh, I think JD Vance will win the Republican nominee, but overall he's definitely going to lose the election. Because this always happens. Democrats, it's just Democrats upon Democrats upon Democrats, right? The Republican gets elected, and people think, oh, too extreme. He's doing too much stuff, and so they don't vote for they don't vote Republican again, and then the cycle keeps repeating. The Democrats destroy it, then we bring a Republican in, but he's too extreme. It's we got lucky with Trump, right? We brought Trump in, then of course goes back to Biden, and then Trump gets elected again, which was very surprising, but it happened. But I think that Trump just ruins the entire reputation for the Republican Party. So it's really not looking good for the midterms or the 2020 election. So I guess that's it really. I guess my overall opinion is that I am glad that Trump got elected. I'm still glad that he got elected. Much rather him over Kamala, right? But it's harder. It's getting harder and harder to defend him, because he might be a murderer now. He's definitely a rapist. We already know that. But it's just getting harder and harder to defend this guy because he's not delivering his promises, and it's just all a show. It's based on lies and to show strength, but not to actually have it. So, but again, I don't want to make it seem like he's not doing everything good. He is. I'd say it's about 60% good and 40% negative. But yeah, that's overall for my opinion on Trump. Uh, but yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you in the next one.